because we get an opportunity to hear from one of the most sought after speakers in the country. He trains the trainers, he trains the speakers, he helps them become better each and every single day. He gets paid to speak on stages across the country, but takes time with us to help us get better every single week. You guys, that is a commitment that's past just the humility of who he of what he does. That's actually who he is. And I'm blessed that I know that's factual because he's been doing that my entire life and always helping me get better, always showing me the path to go. And not just saying it, but doing it by leading by example. I ain't always follow the example, but he was leading though. so so you guys help me bring to the front of the Zoom my big brother, Mr. Richard Hart. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Mr.
Let's go, Rich.
Harden.
Yes,
Let's
Uh-huh.
get it.
Listen,
Yeah.
if you're catching this recording, you may have already missed the best part of the training.
Your mic is kind of fade in and out a little bit.
My bad.
Mm.
All right.
You don't want to miss this.
No. Honestly, if
there you go.
If you're taking notes, if you're watching this recording, you may have missed the best part of this training as Chuck Hollywood Harden brought us together conversationally to set the stage for making halftime adjustments. By the way, if you're taking notes, that's the title of this training is Halftime Adjustments. What do we have to do to make the halftime adjustments that we need? And the dialogue that Chuck had with individuals about what things they needed to take them to the next level. I heard people talking about needing accountability, about needing to be more consistent, about needing to just get it done, just do it. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, it turns out that you're right. You need those things. And everything you need to succeed is already in you. Just gotta let it out, unleash it. See, I was at a training event with Tony Robbins. It seems like yesterday, but it was actually 2 months ago, called Unleash the Power Within. Unleash the power within. Too often the power that we have inside us, that dog is on a leash and has not been given permission to be let out. So for the next half, I want to equip you with some things that I got based on my intention. That's not my content. Does that make sense? Because if you really think about it, to make the second half of this year the best half of this year, but to make it the beginning of the best year of your life, you got to get rid of 4 things and be intentional about developing 3 things. You got to get rid of 4 things and be intentional about developing 3 things. Now, before I tell you about my new friend, Amani, and his concept of resilient and brilliant, I want to tell you about Coach K. How many of you know I went to Duke University?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yes, I know you went.
Yes. I'm not a great basketball player, but I got to watch the winningest coach in basketball for decades. Meaning when I arrived at Duke in 1990, it was the beginning of years of runs. His winning percentage, can you imagine this? In his entire career at Duke, he won 78% of his games, 78.4. That means that close to 8 out of 10 times he won the game. More than half of the time, it was less than a 2-point margin at halftime, and often we were behind. Coach K was the master of halftime adjustments. What can we do to stop this and allow us to do what we need to? Now, tied into what I did Saturday. Chuck asked what y'all do for the weekend. Did y'all have a good weekend?
Great weekend.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yeah, fantastic.
I had an amazing weekend, and it started with the intention to put myself around people with energy that I vibe with. Can anybody relate to that? Now, it turns out that a part of my life outside of MWR is I am a professional speaker and a coach of paid speakers. Yes?
Yes.
a member of an organization called National Speakers Association. It's the Association of Paid Professional Speakers. We have one main stage chapter meeting per month, and we offer what's called a hybrid delivery. What does that mean? You can go in person to the studio where the event is being held, or you can watch on Zoom. Does that make sense? So the beginning of my intention was, if I have a choice between going in person and going on Zoom, I'm going in person. Now here's a challenge. It's Saturday morning and the doors open at 8:30 in Marietta. When I put into my GPS, the address I was going to, it said it would take me an hour to get there, meaning I'd be late for the time that I was planning to go.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody that would have gotten discouraged and turned around and just got on the Zoom?
Yeah, I would have.
It depends on if
Yeah.
you really want to.
You
I would've
wanted
got
to
a
be
ticket.
there, so you press your way.
Right.
I
That's your
considered
right.
turning around, but instead I joined in Zoom from my car in the traffic on 285.
Mm-hmm.
They're already going slow as hell. I mean, slow. Sometimes we weren't going at all, but I could at least hear the context of the things that had happened, and I was able to make it there by like 9:30. So missed some preamble, some intentional networking time, which is what I wanted to be early for. But our guest speaker is a young man named Amani Roberts. Now, I'd not heard of Amani before he was booked to be our keynote speaker. His background, he started off as a bellhop at the Marriott downtown here in Atlanta, went on to be a DJ, a meeting planner. Now he's a professor and author, and he shared a concept that's called resilient and brilliant. So the first thing I want you to understand about this business, any business, or any success that people achieve in life, the first thing we got to do is be resilient. What does that mean? That's that,
come back.
that's that bounce back.
That's right.
It's not like you get hit and you don't get out the ring. It's you get hit and you jump back up into it.
Get back into
Makes
it.
sense? And then the second thing is brilliant and creative. So as I'll share some of the visuals just because they're so good and they'll help me anchor and remember where I'm going in this conversation. But what I want you to think about is this: in terms of your life and this business, when have you been your most resilient? Right? So if you think about this, let me give the formal definition so that we have it, and credit to Amani and the Amani experience for this, right? Oh, am I sharing my screen yet? Bam. Y'all see my screen
Coming
now?
up.
There
we
it
go.
is.
All right, so that's what we got right there. Resilience, the capacity to withstand or recover quickly from difficulties or toughness. Now, for y'all to even be on this Zoom on a Monday night, you have been resilient at some point. You have bounced back from something that would have taken most people out, because most people have been taken out. Yes? I want you to think for a minute about when your most resilient moment was. You don't have to share it here for the sake of time, but I want you to really think about something that caused you to have to dig deep to do what you said you were going to do, even though it was uncomfortable.
We get that definition again.
Oh, yep.
Are
Resilient.
we sharing on the Zoom, or we just have to just
I came
write
back
it
to
down?
look at you, but I'll go back to the definition for a second. Resilience, the capacity to withstand or recover quickly from difficulties, is toughness. Capacity to withstand or recover quickly from difficulties, mental toughness in particular. And I think one of my most resilient moments in this business was the day our father died. See, many of you don't know that Dad went through a long bout with illness in 2020. And on the morning that he passed, I had scheduled to do a webinar. I remember it was a money lunch and I was teaching the banker secret. And was I sad? In ways, but I was also happy for Daddy and his transition, but I also knew he was looking at me. So did I tear up? Did I cry? Not on the Zoom. After I got done, though. But think about for you,
Understandable.
what's a tough thing that takes people out
Yeah,
that you've been able
it
to
is.
weather as a storm, and know if you can get back up from that, whatever that person said. I'm sorry, I'm mad today, huh, Chuck? Whatever was in you to allow you to get back up from that eventually will become a part of the story that you can tell people about what you were able to survive when people come to you and say this is difficult. Because you got to think about it. It's difficult in comparison to what?
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing Make Wealth Real is difficult in comparison to, only thing is difficult in comparison to is nothing. It's just different. When Chuck talked about your unnatural activity, is that the most difficult thing is you're intentionally thinking differently about a thing that everybody wants, but most people aren't willing to think differently enough about it to get what they want.
Mm-hmm.
You're intentionally setting aside time that most people are kicking back and chilling to get better for yourself. Does that make sense? So let's talk about what are the four things that we got to get rid of. Oh, by the way, I love this quote. It's creativity is intelligence having fun. Creativity is intelligence having fun. Meaning you got to create an environment. Like right now, what we are building, what we are creating with Power Builders, with Extra Digit Movement, with Make Wealth Real, we are creating a culture and an environment. And part of what we got to do is be creative enough about it that we can be intelligently having fun and playing through difficulties. Now, he has some great music examples. I'm going to skip those for now. But I want you to think about this. These are the four things, by the way, for the second half of the year. If there's four things that you could eliminate from your mind and your life, they would free you to do all the things that you're saying you're not doing. Because grounded in, if we dug deeper on each of the things that Chuck prompted you about earlier and your responses about why you're not consistent, about why you need accountability, about what people aren't doing, somewhere under the covers of those, fear, imposter syndrome, self-doubt, and worry. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, here's a good thing. It's one thing to identify the enemy. That's the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
The downside is if we don't replace these thoughts intentionally with something to overcome them, they win. Meaning, the thought world, the thought life is not battled on an even playing field. You can't just tell yourself, don't be scared. And that means you won't be scared. As a matter of fact, it will intensify your fear. Yes?
Yes.
Anybody ever have a panic child in the middle of the night and you trying to talk them down from their nightmare?
Mm-hmm.
You can't talk them down from their nightmare, but you can implant a different thought.
Yes.
And that's what you have to do for you. Because adults are just babies with long legs, yes?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to fear, because what kind of things do we fear that stop us from doing what we need to do?
Rejection.
Fear, rejection. What else? Chuck's the only one admitting a fear.
Fear of the unknown.
Fear of the unknown.
It
Yep.
is. I agree with that. What Chuck said, that rejection. We don't want to hear it, but it's necessary, but we don't want to hear that.
Don't want to hear the word no. Like, because when we were children, somebody tell us no, and then they pop us.
As Edna said earlier, she was fear of success.
Fear of success.
Mm-hmm.
Good. That's
I
another
don't want
version
to
of
be
fear of
that
the
way.
unknown.
I don't want to be that way. I want to be successful, but I don't know what the holdup is. I don't know what the restraint is. I don't know. You think I need to see a psychiatrist?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needs some therapy. Everybody needs some therapy.
Therapy is good.
We live in a sick world, so it's easy to catch mental illness. But when it comes to fear, definition to use is fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, that they're likely to cause pain, or they're a threat. And Les Brown had this definition. He said it's false evidence appearing real. And I'm gonna add one more to it because y'all know what I'm talking about. You've been taught step for step, word for word, what to do and what to say, but given the opportunity to say it, Forget everything and run. Forget everything and run. You can insert the other word there, but you see what I'm saying? So if we know
Yep.
what fear is,
Yep.
here is an activity that you can do for you. This is your homework about getting rid of fear. Just write yourself a letter in 1 year and think about everything that you're currently fearful of. Write the letter with the outcome as the best case scenario happening, and actually go put that thing in the mail. Good news about it, it'll take close to a year given current postal service in Georgia for that. Now, I mean, with a stamp, but I want you to write, here's what you got to do. You got to substitute, because what's happening in your mind is you're asking yourself the question, what if? What if I ask them to take a look at my business, they look at my business, and they say no? That's the fear that you have, yes?
Yes.
That's what, I mean, that's the definition of what fear of rejection is. Fear of rejection is, what if they say no? Now, here's how you counter the fear of rejection when it comes down to what if they say no? Nothing. Nothing happens if they say no.
Right.
Meaning, from your point of view in this business and in making wealth real for you, before you invited them to take a look at our opportunity, were they in your business?
No, we're just
No.
sharing it.
No, they weren't. No. I want y'all to hear this. They weren't in your business already. After you invite them to see it and they know that you're in business and they say no, are they in your business?
No, they're not in their business.
But let me ask you a question. What has changed for you?
Nothing changed. You have to continue to go on,
Hold on.
Next.
I need to net this fact out so that you get past the fear. Nothing happened negative to you. Because that's what the fear is saying. The fear is saying their no is a negative. But in real life, if they look at the business, they actually look at it and say no, nothing changed for you in terms of your dollars and cents. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing's different. They ain't shoot you, they ain't stab you, they ain't burn you. There was no physical danger there. But even if they say no, now they know you're in a money business. Now they know you're in business. And even though they think the thing that you just shared kind of makes sense, but they don't think it'll work, they'll probably tell somebody and they'll be thinking about it. You just got to follow up. Does that make sense?
Yep.
When you
Yes.
write this letter, I want you to write it from the standpoint of what if I invite them to do it and they say yes, and they lead me to the 30,000 people that makes me $15,000 a day. See, the fear is only imagining a negative outcome and anticipating that negative outcome as being worse than the best case scenario. But do you know how often the things that anybody ever have something you were afraid of that just didn't happen?
Yep.
Like looking back, you say to yourself, how could I ever have been afraid of that? So when it comes to the fear, write down what you're actually fearful of and flip the what if to what if it works. If you're afraid of being successful and having too much money, if you're afraid that you make wealth real and at $15,000 a day, the IRS wants $1 million from you. Guess what? You still got $4 million left.
Absolutely. Absolutely, sir. They take $1 million, you'll have $4 million. Yeah.
But if you actually successful, you get the results that you want. You get the wealth, you get the lifestyle, you get the luxury, you got the precious metals, you got the trust, and all your broke relatives decide that they want to borrow money from you.
Nope.
And no.
Nope.
Well, here's the blessing. At least then you have that choice. Like if you get wealthy and don't like it, there are several people that can show you ways to get back broke.
I know that's right, sir. I was just saying, they'll help you get back, bro. You can go back.
So on the what if, this is what I want you to do. I want you to actually do the exercise. Be clear enough about yourself, about the fear that you subliminally have. And I'm talking about the one that's beating in your chest when you meet this person and say, I'm gonna call you because we need to get together, and you don't call them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I've had enough self-talk with myself to say, well, they might be busy, they might be working, they might be working out. Well,
Gotcha.
call me back. But whatever it is, know what it is so you can move it out of the way. Does that make sense? Don't take too long with that. Does it help? Like,
Mm-hmm.
well,
So
Yes.
the what if should be something
what?
very positive and huge and big. That's how you want us to write that.
Well, first is
Not what if I'm gonna
so
die.
first is what's the worst? What's the worst is gonna happen if I follow through and I say I'm gonna have a private business reception at my home? I'm gonna invite 30 people to it. The worst is gonna happen
Nobody
is
show
I'm
up.
invite 30 people to my house, and they not gonna come, and I'm gonna still be at my house.
Yes.
And now my
Right.
house clean, and I got an extra bag of chips.
And great.
It's the worst. But if I invite 30 and 10 show up and 3 move, I just took myself halfway to next week's bonus. If I'm Angela Johnson, I did. By inviting people to my house. I took an hour to have people show up for an hour and collect their decisions at the end. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now the second one, they go hand in hand, so they sound similar, but they're different words, right? Imposter syndrome. This is the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. Imposter syndrome. Anybody ever suffer from imposter syndrome?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm wealthy, but not wealthy enough.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody got, I mean, this is why you have a chicken list, is I'll talk to them when I get on their level.
Mm-hmm.
Or my experts might not be good enough to talk to this person because they probably got other experts because they got a nice house too. Here's an awesome esteem exercise. Here's what you do. Here's
Can I
what you
see
do.
that one again?
Yeah, that definition. Or
Imposter syndrome, the inability, the persistent, it's not just it happens every once in a while. The persistent inability to believe that one's own success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. Chris, you got a hand up. Were you just answering in the affirmative or you had a question right here? I
You're
think
on
she's
mute,
no
Chris.
question. She's on mute.
No, I just wanted to add a comment when you got done.
Okay.
So
So I'm going to give the exercise. Is it about this or is it about fear?
fear.
Okay, let's do that one now so that it goes in context before I move to the next exercise.
Okay. As far as fear is concerned, it one of my issues was public speaking, which you are extremely gifted at.
Mm-hmm.
But I joined Toastmasters myself many years ago to remove my fear of talking to other business people.
Mm-hmm.
And I did so. I did so. Another instance was when I was in trucking and having to go in to talk to the various managers.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes truckers are overlooked like they're the scum of the earth,
Mm-hmm.
or the roach on the floor. And I put in my mind, I'm walking in there like I own the place. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's this little black woman going into to management with the mindset that, okay, I own the place. Let's talk. You know. So that's how I overcame my fear of engaging with other people.
And there's some helpful clues in there. I'm going to come back around to it in the solution because Chris talked about joining Toastmasters. For those of you that aren't aware, Toastmasters is a learning and leadership development organization where people come together and practice speaking. They come together and practice speaking on whatever they want to talk about. But the founder of Toastmasters, Ralph Smedley, he's famous for saying, the unprepared speaker has the right to be afraid. But by getting together and practicing, you were more comfortable the next time the opportunity presented itself to you. Is that right, Chris?
Absolutely.
And then here's even more powerful. You were able to take something you did in that class setting and the confidence that went with it into the workplace so that your new confidence became cash flow. Is that right? Did I summarize that well?
Yes, you can say that.
Everybody give it up one more time for Chris.
All right,
Woo,
Chris.
woo.
All right,
All right.
yes, awesome.
So let me speed this exercise
Great,
up so we
Chris.
get to some things. When it comes to the imposter syndrome, here's all I want you to do is collect the accolades as they go. Because too often we have a dirt road to happiness and fulfillment and 6-lane highway to depressed and concerned. Am I making sense?
Yes.
So when you get compliments, good job on this, good job on that, file that away because unfortunately, they say a negative comment will reverberate in your soul 17 times, but you might not even notice that you got a compliment. Does that make sense? So when people say you
Yeah.
did a good job or somebody did training for you or your kids send you an I love you note, don't just file that thing away. Put it away so that you can refer to it anytime you start questioning your value. Does that make sense? Now,
Mhm.
this next one goes hand in hand, and I hear this in the words that I heard at the beginning of this call is self-doubt. And its simple definition is a lack of confidence in oneself and one's abilities. Is that you know what to do, but you don't think to do it at the time to do it, or you don't think now is the right time, or you don't think that saying this thing to this person will move them to action. You need something better or different to say. Main thing we got to do is say something. Here's the exercise fix, though, to eliminate self-doubt. Matter of fact, do this right now, real quick, real quick. I want you to think back to your childhood and list 5 of your favorite childhood accomplishments, right? I'm gonna give you some time for that. But at the same time, I want you to think of 5 of your favorite adult accomplishments. Doesn't have to be MWR related, but make one of them MWR related. Let me see something. Does this work?
Can you put that back up?
Yeah, in just a second. Hang on, I was gonna get
Okay.
you some music.
Okay.
Did my thinking music come through? Can y'all hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
All right. Unfortunately for our time, I want this to be fast. So, who has a top childhood success story they want to share? Just
I
one.
do. I do. I
What you
do.
got?
I learned how to ride my bike. I was a section leader in my band. I made the tour show in high school. I learned my times tables before the third grade, and I got a scholarship to choirs in college.
That's what's up. We learned timetables, ride a bike, and not only ride a bike, they jumped over the ramps. They were risky with bikes.
Yeah, I got good.
All right, Gwen, give me two from
Yes.
your adulthood.
2 for my adulthood. I worked till I went on a vacation, and I went on 3 cruises as an adult. Then I took that, started a business. I was focused. I sold pocketbooks, perfume, being a self-entrepreneur. And I did overtime and I saved my money for 4 years. And then I got
Good.
focused
Hold on. Make room. I got room for one more. One more.
I
Who
bought a
hasn't
home.
spoken? Huh? No, I mean one more person.
Oh, I'll go.
Okay, Angela, what you got?
Okay, you're talking about for adults?
One
Okay,
adult
for
childhood.
one childhood. I was most outstanding student in junior high school. In my junior,
Most outstanding.
in my junior year of high school. Most outstanding in the yearbook. I like that. And as an adult, dang, you said one, but I got 2, 3. I can't
All
look
right, give me
full.
2. Give me 2.
Okay. So dang, okay. So I raised 2 daughters successfully.
To adulthood.
To adulthood, yep. And then also I was able to retire early by building my wealth portfolio with MWR Financial because I'm still
Retire
being
early. It's the
Yeah.
ultimate flex.
yes, I
Excellent.
retired early.
Now, here's the reason I'm saying to write these down and put them where you can see them as a cure of self-doubt. Is that often some of our best stuff is in our rearview mirror. Like I be forgetting. I'm a valedictorian and star student, and I got a scholarship to Duke University. I'm smarter than this.
Yeah.
I could bench 300 pounds when I was 17 years old.
Congratulations, too.
But it's if you ever find yourself in self-doubt, part of the self-doubt is self-forgetting. You are forgetting who you are and whose you are, all the things that you've done from childhood on. And every time you give yourself a chance to look back and acknowledge how far you've come, it gives you the ability to stand and see further down the road. Does that make sense? So if you ever found yourself weak in the knees or what I call crestfallen, what's crestfallen is this 2 millimeter shift of walking with your chest poked out to walking with your shoulders hunched. Am I making sense? Because how many of you felt yourself writing happier, writing with a smile, writing faster as you reflected on your success? So if we get rid of fear, the imposter syndrome, and the little bit of doubts that we have about ourselves and the thing that we're doing now, and it's not that we're not the same person that did the things that we just wrote down on those lists. We're just new at this thing the same way Chuck was new at riding his bike at one point. The same way that Chuck did not know his timetables at one point, but he learned all of them before they got to him in school. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then this last one, I'll put in the general category, worry and anxiety. It's a verb. Give way to anxiety or unease, allow one's mind to dwell on difficulty or troubles. Chewing on problems. Does that make sense? Anybody have some people in your life that you're worried about?
Yeah.
Anybody have some situations and things that consistently worry or upset you? The secret to worry is choice. See, in our thought life, which is where most of the failings we talked about on this call happen, it's not anything to do with the business or the website or the services. It's the mental games in our head.
Can't
But
hear
in
you.
worry, what's that?
Kind of low, Mr. Richard Hart.
Can y'all hear me okay?
You good.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
in our worry, we have to be selective because there's a certain number of things that we can control and a certain amount of things that concern us, but that we can do nothing about them. Does that make sense? So here's the exercise for worry, because our mind is always evaluating, am I safe to make another move based on where I am right now? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if you get out a sheet of paper and draw a big circle on your paper, in that circle, place all the topics that you need to protect: your health, your peace, your family, your income. Like the names of the people you find to be supportive of those things. But then outside the circle, put the names of those you have to be self-protective around, even if it's just for right now. And put the map where you can see it frequently and add names to it to the inner and outer spheres as appropriate for you and your life. So if you think about it, now this was Amani's list. He is fiercely protective of his health because he had a health scare, almost lost his life. But his peace, my new book, teaching, and the other names are people that that help cultivate those things that he is protecting. Does that make sense? Those are the supporters. Does that make, y'all hear me good? Like as a DJ, he loves DJing, and Josh is one of the people that books him to DJ and speak at the same events. But now you'll notice on the outside of his circle is his aunt and his brother. Right? He's concerned about them. He's worried about the choices that they make or the impact that they have on him. But he can't, because we did put this in your notes, you can't control other people. You can only control what you do. And in some cases, honest personal confession, you rushing in to try to save somebody that won't participate in their own rescue. Sometimes you got to let them be outside your circle of concern and your circle of worry and protect the things you can and want to protect. Am I making sense?
Mm-hmm.
So what's the exercise? Is figure out what goes in your circle of concern, because there's all kinds of things to be concerned. Like I'm legit concerned about what our actual political environment and situation is going to be here in America, but I have very little control over that. So I give it less time, less attention, less focus, because I put it over there outside the circle. Protect your core. Now, if we get rid of those 4 things, if you're able to get fear, self-doubt, imposter syndrome, and worry out of your head, do you know how much real estate you freed up to put in the things that you need? Like, I want you to see and hear this, because there is something that was already shared earlier. 2 quotes that I want to make sure that we bring forward. First one is just this idea here from Peter Drucker, where he said, there's a difference in the risk that you face in life. He said, there's the risk that you cannot afford to take, and there is the risk you cannot afford not to take. And when it comes to building business, the risk that you can't afford not to take is to be in Make Wealth Real, devoting time consistently to thinking about and coming on the training calls, and not going away from the Zoom into your real life and inviting people to make wealth real with you. There's a risk you cannot afford to take, and there's a risk you cannot afford to take. And the risk that we take is that if the statements that we said at the beginning, I need to do this, I need to do that. The African proverb says this: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And if there's any correction, if there's any alteration that I could make to what we shared at the beginning of our conversation today, before I bring you to the 3 things, so we talked about the 4 things that if we get them out, we can go faster. The 3 things that we need to be intentional about cultivating to get to the next level. Malcolm X said, because there are a lot of people that said, I need to do this. Anybody, when Chuck talked earlier about getting to the next level, said, I need to do this?
Mm-hmm.
It was Malcolm X that said, if we just change I into we, if we just change I into we, illness becomes wellness. We need 3 things. Here's the 3 things we need. Y'all ready? Coach, community, collaboration, mastermind group. Coach, community, collaboration. This is the only way that I've seen anybody that's gotten to the next level get to the next level is in some ways getting outside themselves as their only problem. I mean, coaching is critical because you can only see the picture when you're not in the frame. Does that make sense? Now, I started our conversation today talking about Coach K, Coach Mike Krzyzewski, 78.4% winning percentage. Close to 80% of the time, they walked off the court victorious. He had an amazing strategy, but one of the best things he did was evaluate players because there's nobody, most of the time, people would say Duke didn't have the best basketball players. It was very uncommon for most of the time that I've been a Duke fan for a Duke player to be drafted #1. Didn't have the best athletes, but had the best team and best strategy, and that starts with coaching. And what's a coach? No, I'm actually asking, what's a coach?
Someone that can help
Someone
push
that's
Someone-
you
gotta
past what you
encourage you
regularly
along.
can do.
So put this in, this is my philosophy on coach. A coach is somebody outside you that can tell you to run a play and you do it. Somebody that can give you advice or guidance based on their experience and their expertise that can help to improve your performance by observing what you do, what you're good at, and what improvements or enhancements you can make. Say that in your notes. I need some coaching, but you know what else you need to be with coaching?
You got to be coachable.
You got to be coachable. It's not just somebody that says, makes an appointment and says, this is what I want you to do. This is where we're going to get together and train. This is where we're going to get together and present. This is where we're going to get together and learn. Is that once a play is called, you're the first to get out there and execute it, even if you mess up. Now, a good coach will also encourage you and find the lessons that you learn in the loss, but coaching is critical. Second one is community, meaning there's, you know what messed us up when it comes to community?
But
Hmm?
what?
In my opinion, school. School messed us up for adults learning to intentionally cultivate community because school gave you a community of people that were around the same age as you were, that were assigned to do the same work that you did, that lived somewhere near where you lived. So we go through 18 years of having automatic friends in proximity. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning you got a sign like Angela. We were at our 35th class reunion yesterday, right? But we got a mixer
Wow.
before the reunion. So that wasn't a reunion. That was just getting together to give out our swag bags and collect our gear. So when we get to the reunion in Jamaica, we'll all have on the same shirt.
Hmm.
Is my volume low to the rest of y'all?
Mm-mm.
Nope, it's good for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear you real well.
All right. But there were people that were still getting together to take pictures with other people in their homeroom, and indicated that I did not make it to homeroom as often as I should have. I knew 2 people from my homeroom, but I forgot our homeroom teacher's name. But it was 35 years ago.
Congratulations.
Here's my point. All of
Ooh.
us have been, because we were at a predominant high school in Atlanta, all of us are still here in Atlanta. And we have homecoming and alumni days that fairly regularly give us a chance to come back together and see what's been going on. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now, in a way, that's a community. Those were my first Facebook friends. Like I end up with a big number of Facebook friends because I went to a big high school. But in real life, if I was going to go out and select the people that were going to guide and shape my development, my growth, and my interest, most of them aren't interested in the same stuff I'm interested in. Oh, they're interested in learning line dance now, but that's a different story. Intentional community means you got to go out and find your tribe. This is a community that you've selected. And by being here, you're saying you want to be a part of a group of people that wants to make wealth real. That's one community. that reinforces these ideas. It's not the only community of people out there talking about money and making wealth real and doing it together, but it's one of very few places where you'll find this combination of personal development, thought processes about mindset, but also seriously focused on making money that keeps coming as the growth goes. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
What other communities can you be a part of? Personally, I have to go out. I have to pay money to be a part of the NSA speaker community. Does that make sense? But I make the investment to be around a group of people because the conversation is different. They're talking about strategies, demonstrating techniques, doing things that they've done to make money. And get this, somebody else's learned experience can shorten your learning curve. You don't have to make the same mistakes they did if you go where they go. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, here's some ideas for cultivating community. Because if you find yourself talking to the same people, especially if they're the same people from your high school, but you don't see them any other time but when you go to high school stuff, what other communities have you intentionally cultivated because the school didn't give you a mandatory one? Like there are some good neighborhoods where neighbors get together and grill out, but I find that most neighborhoods, they don't have kids playing them anymore. Or is that just my neighborhood?
That's
think
facts.
that's-
Yeah, it's just different now. So to get community, go to places where people meet. Here's some suggestions. Chris mentioned earlier Toastmasters, right? I'm not saying everybody has to join Toastmasters, but I am saying if you feel like you don't speak well or you are afraid of speaking well, go practice with people that are encouraging. Because the other thing about Toastmasters is they clap when you speak. Right? Nobody's getting ready to boo you. You're going to be all right. But now the other thing it does is puts you around an intentional upward community. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
At the same time, find places to go to do things that you like to do with people you like to do them with. Like some of my best prospects have been people I met at the gym. Why? They got higher energy because they work out.
Yeah.
They are already doing something that's difficult to do. And I tend to go to group fitness classes because now you got an instructor telling people to do something hard and 10 to 20 other people that you didn't know that came to be told to do something hard together. Does it mean
play together?
Does
You
it mean
start believing in yourself?
real? No, but now we got affinity. We got a group of people. You got people that have the signs that they'll do something other than go home and sit on the couch. You with me? Now, them line dance groups can be tricky because they so social. They can't go sit down and be serious. Like it does take it actually takes a longer time for me to identify a line dance friend as a prospect for business because of the context we see each other in. Does that make sense? So find what's positive and serves you. You want to work on your speaking skills? Find a group that's working on speaking skills. You want to lose some weight? Find a group of people that's working out, talking about losing weight. Online is okay. Is better because in-person energy, proximity brings the power. Oh man, I went longer on that than I thought. I thought that was going to be short. What are the 4 things that we got to get out to make this half-time adjustment?
Fear,
Self-doubt, imposter syndrome, and I can't think of the 4th one.
worry.
Excellent. And what are the 3 things that we need to intentionally cultivate to replace those things once they've been pushed out?
Coaching,
Community,
and
collaboration.
and
Coaching,
mastermind
community,
groups.
coaching, community, and collaboration, meaning mastermind groups. And I should point this out. Community is just a group of people you're around, and you can be in multiple communities. And the conversation, here's what happens. The people you're around influence the things that you think about, that you talk about, that you read, and that you do. So if the group of people you're around, all they want to do is go to the club and pop bottles, it ain't but so much money you can make with them.
Facts. And they'll spend all your money.
And they will spend, and then wait for you to get there so that you can spend your money because they heard you could write it off on your taxes, right? Now that's different than your mastermind collaborators group. That's where you find the other people that are holding one another accountable. Your goals won't be exactly the same, but they'll be similar. But the people you're around always influence who you become. Now that we're aware. See, this is the thing, this is the advantage that we have because of where we are, is we get to be intentional knowing that most people aren't. They just show up with whoever's around. Did that help?
Mm-hmm.
Find the people that can help you get better and go to the next level. Get the coaching either from your upline, or even if you have to get coaching from a therapist if you need therapy. If anybody, don't be ashamed of therapy. The world is crazy, not you. Have somebody help you protect your mental health. Oh, speaking of which, it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Brothers, y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
Right. It's true.
Make sure
Hey.
Make sure to protect the number one asset in your wealth equation. Is this 6 inches of real estate right here between your ears. And you got to put yourself in position to know I'm doing things that are good for my peace, my mental health, my overall well-being, because that mental health is wealth. Yes.
Yes.
And then
Yes, sir.
make sure that more often than not, any of the places you struggle, you identify somebody here to make sure that we have people coming together with us here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When I becomes we, even illness becomes wellness. Go together.
Ooh,
We can go further.
ooh.
Good night, everybody.
Drop the
Thank
bomb.
you. Thank you.
Hey.